Hi, this is Victorian Lit, the Heavenly Twins, and today we're going to be talking about Angelica. Thought as angel visitants after arriving into their parents' lives, well into their years of marriage, Angelica and Diavolo were referred to as the Heavenly Twins. Both were mischievous children, yet Angelica was inherently the leader of the tricks made and played. Some characteristics that Angelica shows continuously throughout the novel is being clever, inquisitive, and troublesome, following her all the way into adulthood. Some characteristics that would describe Diavolo is loyal, priding himself as a gentleman, and a foodie. He loves sweets and he would always look forward to anything that had to do with treats, desserts, and food. An expert from page 13 says Angelica was the dark one, and she was also the elder, taller, stronger, and wickeder of the two, the organizer and commander of every expedition. Before they were 5 years old, everybody about the place was about the alert, both in self defense and also to see that the twins did not kill themselves. And an excerpt describing Diavolo in page 118 goes. He soon discovered that when his intelligent pupils gave their word, they kept it, uncompromisingly. It was one of their virtues, and the other was loyalty to each other. But they would have sacrificed their very lives for each other, and would have fought for the right to die until there was very little left of either of them to execute. Of such peculiar quality were their affections. In their early childhood, being the clever one, Angelica took the rails when it came to both twins misbehaving. She would basically be the brains of the group. They both valued playing tricks because of the fun they derived from it. It was their entertainment, and they liked looking at the reactions of everyone that they played tricks on. One thing about Angelica is that since a child, she was always very outspoken about her beliefs and ideals, including her disagreement with inequalities based purely by sex. Page 30 in The Heavenly Twins describes the situation in where Diavolo and Angelica try to find a fair way to keep their father's property after he dies. "We must fight, Diavolo asserted. "I don't see that," said Ivani. "Why should you fight?" "It's good for the circulation of the blood," said Angelica. "Warms body, "And there's their property, too," said Diavolo. "We've got to fight for that." Ivani did not understand, so Angelica kindly explained. "You see, I'm the eldest, but Diavolo's a boy, so he gets the property because of the intel. And we neither of us think it's fair, so we fight for it, and whichever wins is to have it. I won the last battle, so it's mine just now. But Diavolo may win it back if we fight again before Papa dies. That's why he wants to fight now, I expect." Angelica also demonstrated a great will to learn, and it was even compared to Evotny's. It surpassed that of her twin brother Diavolo. Diavolo would snail over his lessons, and unless Angelica made him work, he would not do it. And it didn't make the tutor really happy. But there's a contrast between these two children. One wants to learn, possibly even more so because she shouldn't care about her education, and the other one doesn't because his education is required. It wasn't necessarily that men were naturally more inquisitive or capable, it's just that women were capped and not allowed to grow and straighten their mind to the extent that men were allowed to. Although Angelica is compared to Ivani, Ivani was perceived as soft, quiet, and timid. Ivani did not challenge many of the old ideas until she became a wife, and even then she was not very vocal about them besides during some conversations with relatives. Angelica, on the other hand, has that bold confidence from the start. Ivani was clever, intelligent even, but she did not put much of it to use in the long run. Angelica, on the other hand, took action any chance she got, even if it stemmed from her inherent misbehavior. As a young lady, since Angelica started maturing faster than Diavolo, they kind of started growing apart. Page 242 goes like, "What? Angelica, a grown up young lady in a long dress?" she exclaimed. "But where's Diavolo?" "We had a slight difference of opinion this morning," Angelica answered stiffly. "Dear me, that is a new thing," Mrs. Beale commented. "No, it's not," Angelica contradicted, bridling visibly. "Only when we were younger we used to settle our differences at once and have done with them. But now that I am in long dresses, Diavolo won't do that, so we have to sulk like married people." As a growing young lady, she is put more into the spotlight about societal expectations and her role as a young lady. And it doesn't make her really happy. Still, she is reaching breakthroughs, and when she sees Edith and her baby sick and ill, and then her husband just walking off, being the cause of his wife's sickness, she goes on a rant about being Jal, Judith, Cassandra, but overall that she must speak. She at some point even threw a book at the nose of the husband, and although it was a Bible, she thought it was a good idea because of the way, both literal and metaphorically. Gathering these experiences, she becomes to she begins to plot her next course of action. The tenor. The tenor meets Angelica while she is cross-dressed as a boy one night. After speaking to each other and eventually having the boy over a night once every few weeks, the tenor and the boy build a good friendship, and the tenor at the same time also develops an interest for the boy's twin sister, Angelica. While rowing together, the boy accidentally falls out of the boat and becomes unconscious. During this time, the tenor tries to bring him back to health, but at the same time, he finds out that the boy is actually Angelica, his romantic interest. His reaction is in page 372. "God in heaven," he ejaculated again under his breath, and then stood gazing like one transfixed. For this, with the handsome, strong young face upturned, the smooth white throat, the dark brown braids pinned close to the head, all wet and shining, this was not the boy, but the tenor's own lady, his ideal of purity, his goddess of truth, his angel of pity, as in his foolishly fond way idealizing he had been accustomed to consider her. It was Angelica herself. From the moment he realizes that the boy is actually not just Angelica, but a girl overall, his whole attitude shifts. He gives her less medication. He gives her more space. He is a lot more conservative. And as he's betrayed, he asks for an explanation. And Angelica does let him know that she never intended to hurt him, but she did want an outlet to be an individual. And really, she was just enjoying their friendship. From page 375, Angelica says, "There was no latitude allowed for my individuality. I was a girl, and therefore I was not supposed to have any bent. I found a big groove ready waiting for me when I grew up, and in that what I was expected to live, whether it suited me or not. It did not suit me. It was deep and narrow, and gave me no room to move. I helped a little in the bottling myself, I suppose, and then came the explosion. This is the explosion," glancing round the disordered room and then looking down at her masculine attire. She continues to explain herself from 376 to 377. As a woman, I could not expect to be treated by men with as much respect as they show to each other. I know the value of men's cant about protecting the weaker sex. Because I was a woman, I knew I should be insulted, or at all events hindered, however inoffensive my conduct. And so I prepared this disguise page. Do you know, Israfel, I think it dangerous to leave an energetic woman without a single strong interest or object in life. Trouble is sure to come out of it sooner or later. But surely you must recognize the grave responsibility which attaches to all women in the extract, Angelica interposed. I know if things go wrong, they are blamed for it. If they go right, the church takes the credit. The value attached to the influence of women is purely fictitious, as individuals usually find when they come to demand a recognition of their personal power. I should have been held to have done my duty if I had spent the rest of my life in dressing well and saying the proper thing. No one would consider the waste of power which is involved in such an existence. You often hear it said of a girl that she should have been a boy, which being interpreted means that she has superior abilities, but because she is a woman, it is not thought necessary to give her a chance of making a career for herself. He doesn't truly understand it. He, perhaps because of the shock, he's cold. It's just been a very long night of emotions, and he already has his set prior beliefs. He just makes sure to take her back home and essentially wishes for the best. That being for her to become a good woman. Getting to the marriage part, while she was cross dressing and meeting up with the tenor, she was married with Mr. Kilroy. She asked Mr. Kilroy to marry her under the conditions that she could continue to do as she pleased as long as she didn't really disrespect him as a wife or do anything morally wrong. She did not love him as a spouse, but she did have a very good friendship and relationship with him. He often traveled for work and she would refuse to go with him, but they made it work out. Still, after the Cantor's death, while Angelica was filled with regret and negative emotions, she returns home to an empty house and recognizes the kindness, patience, care, and love given to her by her husband. And she thinks it's incredible and frankly underserved by her. She feels so guilty that she travels to see him and confesses for her actions. At the same time, she develops greater feelings for him while they have a discussion about what each of them did wrong, and it overall straightens their relationship. In her words, I think I only have just this moment learned to appreciate you, she said. I used to accept all your kind attentions as merely my due, but I now know how little I deserve them, and I wish I could be different. I wish I could repay you. I wish I could undo the past and begin all over again. Begin by loving you as a wife should. You are 10,000 times too good for me. Yet, I have cared for you in a way, she protested. Not a kind way, perhaps, but still, I have relied upon you, upon our friendship. I have felt a sense of security in the certainty of your affection for me, and presumed upon it. Oh, why have you let me do as I like? Page 450. So from this point on, it was basically happy ever after for her because she ended up just bonding more strongly with her husband. And her perspective on marriage shifted a little bit to something that is a little bit nicer than what she saw other people experience. That was Angelica from the Heavenly Twins, and this was Victorian Lit.